to experience it. Because we have to have culture. I mean, we can't live without culture. We got language, we got music, there's all this kind of, we can't express ourselves, we can't exist without culture. But the thing that we have to realize, and one of the reasons why there's a separation in the church, is because people can't make the distinction between the essence of what Christianity is and the cultural container in which they express it. Now, people of color have a little bit easier time with it, because that's something that we have to do every day, particularly those of us who are living within the context of the majority of the dominant culture. Every time we walk out of the house, I've got to make a distinction. I walk into Northwestern College, which is 99.9% white. I know I got to make that distinction. Okay, this is the way that folks do stuff here. We're linear, and we're, and there's a time thing, and there's a lot of stuff that we have to deal with. And so I got to make that distinction in my head. And I walk in, and I've got to operate within the context of that cultural container, and because that's dominant, that's the standard. But people from the dominant culture never have to do that. And so there's this difficulty of separating the cultural container from the essence of our Christianity. And then very often when we say, well, let's get together, let's worship together, let's praise God together, let's be integrated, all whatever, reconcile and all that. But what happens is that the people of color who are trying to blend together with the community of the dominant culture are mostly asked to blend into that dominant cultural container. And folks from the majority culture don't even realize that it's a culture. They think, well, we don't even have a culture. After all, we're not ethnic. We're the standard. Everybody else is the ethnic groups. We're the standard. And it was no different in the first century between the Jews and the Gentiles. Very similar kinds of stuff was going on. And Paul said, and he insisted here in Ephesians, in Galatians when he confronted Peter, separate but equal is not the biblical option. Why? Because the gospel is at stake. The gospel is at stake. Because in Ephesians chapter 3, verse 10, the context, because the church is revealing the manifold wisdom of God to not only the angelic host, both fallen and unfallen, but the whole watching world is looking at us at Christians, and they're saying, oh, well, that's what Christianity is supposed to be like. And what do they see when they see Western Christianity, American Christianity? They see, and my wife tells me not to use this word because she says it's not a word, but I'll use it anyway. We see fractionated groups all over the place. We see 27 zillion denominations. We see people, hunkering together in their little homogeneic groups, and we can't break through because we say, well, they worship different. I can't worship like that. I got different rhythms. I can't do that. And what we actually are doing is practicing cultural idolatry. What did we put up on the pedestal? Not God, our culture. And Paul said, we can't have it. Why? Because the watching world and the angelic host is watching us, and what they're seeing ain't all that. People from all around the world look at, and one of the problems in Christianity and American culture too is that lots of people around the world think America is Christian. That's what America represents, Christianity. And they look at us and they say, well, if they can't get along with each other, maybe Christianity isn't valid. Maybe Christianity isn't even valid. Why should I want to be a Christian and join a group that can't even get along with each other? We're doing better over here in Islam than they're doing over there, in Christianity. So why should I join to be a Christian? And that's what's at stake here in Ephesians chapter 3. The gospel, the manifold wisdom of God, Christ himself, redemption, holiness, all that is at stake. And if we stay in these little homogeneic cultural idolatry stuff, and what we're saying to a world is that Christianity isn't even valid. We have got to deal with it, folks. And what is it? The art